You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Hey guys, Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk. How are you guys today? It's a beautiful morning here in East Greenbush, New York. We are the first live streaming webcast in East Greenbush, and we continue to hang our hat there. Guys, beautiful weekend. What a great day we had on the golf course yesterday. Real quick, played in a scramble tournament for Loopy's Tavern to raise money for a couple of things. One of the prolific golfers at the golf course we played at, Fox Run, to plant a memory tree for him, and also scholarship for her late son's in her late son's name at Amsterdam High School. So great time there, and thank you to one of our loyal listeners. Good morning, Dave Guyette. Kenny Gifford, who invited me up, a good friend of mine. Played ball with Kenny for a lot of years. Went to school with Kenny at Perth, and we hadn't seen each other in probably 25 years ish. And we had a great time yesterday. So thank you for that, guys. Enjoyed it. Again, if I share the show to one of your groups, you will have relevant content, I guarantee you. So thank you for that. All of you groups that allow me to share and get the tremendous viewership that we've gotten in almost a year now. We'll have a little anniversary show here in a couple of months. So, what else? Thank you to you guys always for showing up. Rick Sherlock, good morning. How are you today? Bill Pulver's in the room early today. Good morning, Billy. So, thanks for you guys for being here every week. I want to thank my guest from Friday, Derek May. We had a great conversation. Derek is currently managing the Frederick Keys in the Major League Baseball Draft League and struggling a little bit. Didn't check the scores out from the weekend, but hopefully they got off the schneid after being on my show. Derek was a former Major League Baseball player and a very good one with the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Brewers, and a bunch of other teams, and played a couple years in Japan. We had a great conversation about his career, his dad, who played in the major leagues as well, and his career as a hitting instructor in the major leagues, in the Cardinals system for a long time, and what he's doing now. Good morning, Carlos. Yeah. Take Mac out there for brunch. He is bitter. Yanks and Knicks stink. Are those his comments? Those must be his comments. I know he's down on the Knicks. I'm down on the Knicks. I'm not down on the Knicks. Not at all. Down in the Yankees right now, which we'll talk about later. What else, guys? Next week, by the way, on Friday, I'll give you a little, I'll do it at the end of the show too, but we'll be posting a promo later on. My guest will be Dan Epstein. Dan Epstein is a very prolific writer who's written some of the best books about 70s baseball that you can imagine. You like 70s baseball and reading about it, you've got to read Stars and Strikes, which is the story of the bicentennial year and baseball in 1976. Big Hair and Plastic Grass. I can't bring up the subtitle, but a great, great book. And he's got a new book out, a collaboration with Ron Blomberg, the former Yankee, one of my favorites when I was a kid. And, I lost you guys here. Hold on. Where'd you go? Where'd you guys go? Uh-oh. Bear with me, guys. I know you're here somewhere. There you are. How are you? Ron Blomberg and Dan Epstein have collaborated on a book called The Captain and Me, on and off the field with Thurman Munson. It's about the relationship, basically, between Thurman Munson and Ron Blomberg in the 70s, growing up with those Yankee teams that were struggling to get back to the top in the early to mid-70s. And they eventually did get over the top, but unfortunately, Ronnie wasn't part of that. He was part of the first championship team, but he didn't really get to play. Injuries really derailed Ronnie's career. And we all know about Thurman and what a great player he was. So great book. And Dan is also a contributor, major contributor, Rolling Stone, Mojo, Flood, some of these big pop culture publications. And Dan is an interesting guy because he writes about everything from 70s baseball, as I mentioned, to he's got a book about Buck Owens. He's got lots of books about the music industry. He's been a producer on VH1. But we're going to concentrate on 70s baseball on Friday, one of my favorite topics. What else we got going on here? Derek Cole cheating, I hope not. Well, Dave, we're going to touch on that. And if you guys watched my, you're killing me, Carlos. Fire tips. We're going to touch on the cheating, supposed cheating. If you watch my vlog, you'll know my feelings on this. The beers are coming. I talked to Kenny yesterday because I hadn't heard from him because I think I forgot to include him on our group chat. So he's good for Friday afternoon. I got to come up with a date now, maybe as soon as next Friday. I'm not sure. I got to look at my calendar today and we'll send something out to you guys. I promise. Kenny Gifford, good morning. Listen, I'm glad Kenny's here early, and I wish I had a chance I didn't get a chance to download this picture. Told you guys a minute ago I played in a golf tournament with Kenny. And before we jump into anything, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this picture, but I have never in my life, let's see what happens if I do this way. You guys can tell me if you can see this picture. Tell me what's wrong with this picture. First one to guess wins an extra beer next week. I don't know how well you guys could see that. I wanted to upload it so I could share it, but I never got a chance this morning. So I'll give you guys a chance to, Thurman Munson should be in the Hall of Fame. Good, agreed. Big Frank Gifford. I'll give you guys a second. Great time yesterday, Kenny. Thanks again. I thanked you at the top of the show. I don't know if you were here. Had a wonderful time at the Loopy's Tavern Scramble. Again, raising money for a couple of great causes. Good morning, John Gonzalez. How are you today? All right, I got no guesses on what's wrong with that picture. Kenny Gifford is the first shoeless golfer I've ever played with, I have to say. And he plays pretty well for not wearing shoes. Now, he could have had spikes on the bottom of his shoes, on his feet. I'm not really sure, but Kenny played the entire 18 holes without shoes and has done so for quite some time. Oh, just saw Drew here. That was not me golfing barefoot, Drew, but it was a good guess. It was Kenny Gifford, shoeless on the golf course, which is how he plays. And again, plays very well. So again, thanks, Kenny. Had a great time. Guys, we're waiting. We're going to talk today NHL playoffs. We're going to talk Major League Baseball. We're going to talk NBA playoffs and awards, Carlos. We'll be talking about the coach of the year that you want fired. And we'll be talking, as I say, a little bit of NFL. There's not a lot going on in the NFL. I made a couple of notes, and we do have Jim Behringer coming up here in just a few minutes. So we'll jump on the NHL playoff news. We're coming to the semifinals. The Islanders against the Lightning, the defending champion Lightning. The Vegas Knights against Montreal. As somebody mentioned to me yesterday, interesting enough, the two cities in the U.S. and Canada with the best strip clubs. So, okay, Facebook, I'm only, it's an innocent joke. Don't take it too seriously. So hopefully we'll have Jim on here in a few minutes. We'll talk about those matchups, how we got here, and a little bit maybe about the Ranger coaching situation again. Interestingly enough, some coaches who are just finishing up their playoff runs have now got their names into the conversation. So without further ado, actually, I will bring in Jim Behringer. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, what's going on, Keith? How we doing?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good. A little tired, sore at a hockey tournament, but we're in the finals today, so trying to bring it home.
You're in the finals. Good luck.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Is this a is it a step towards the NHL for you guys that are playing in this tournament, or is it just for fun?
Yeah, just for fun. Yeah, those days of making to the NHL are long gone. So,
well, they're never gone until we're in the ground. You could keep hope. Stay positive, Jim. Stay positive.
That's true. That's true. I mean, there's a lot of guys that came out of nowhere. David Ayers and so on and so forth. So
Pretty soon when you come on my show, because you're going to be playing for the Rangers, which will probably kill you, I know, but you'll be playing for the Rangers.
Yeah, it might just kill me.
Yeah, let's jump in. Obviously, we've made it through the few rounds of the playoffs, and we're at the semis with the Vegas Knights and the Canadiens. As I mentioned, somebody mentioned being a golf tournament yesterday. That it's ironic that we have the two cities in each country with the best strip clubs playing each other.
It's true. It's very true. Very true. The best North American strip clubs, Montreal and Vegas. Though I'm gonna say Vegas. I think I was gonna say Vegas, but you know what? I'm a fan of Montreal, so I'm gonna lean towards the Canadiens.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
It to me was a Canadian. He's from Ottawa, but he is Canadian. He played hockey actually. He was in the Devils organization. Never got to the bigs, but he got to the highest level of the minors. So
there you go. That's something.
Give a shout out to Brett Cloutier, who he obviously knows the strip clubs. I think in the U.S. and in Montreal. So
I think so. I mean, look, hey, Montreal and Vegas, two good cities, two fun cities to be in. I love Montreal. It's like I tell everybody, it's like my second home. I love when the borders open. Montreal is such a great town, a city to go to, great atmosphere for a game. I love to get to Vegas for a game. That looks unbelievable. Atmosphere as well in the T-Mobile Arena. Lucky enough, like I said, here, our buddy Tony Nardini, was out in Vegas for Game 7 for the Minnesota Wild impromptu trip up to Vegas to see his Knights play Minnesota in the first round. He had a blast. He loved it. So he had a good time out there.
Hopefully, we can all do that soon. So yes, we got the Knights and the Canadiens. We also have I guess surprisingly Islanders against the defending champion Lightnings, but the Islanders again were kind of a wild card coming in, I think. So maybe we're not that surprised that they're here.
I don't think you could be really surprised at what the Islanders are doing anymore, to be honest. I think they've built such a good club there with Lou at the GM, bringing in Barry Trotz as a head coach. They're really, I don't call them a surprise anymore. I call them a team that you're going to probably make the playoffs every year, and they're going to make deep runs every year. They have it. They brought in pieces last year with Pajot. They re-signed Martin. Cizikas is healthy. They didn't have him last year. Yeah, Andersley not playing against Tampa Bay is probably going to hurt them. But, Bailey, Beauvillier, Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson stepping up and close out games now. He's got 12 goals in 9 closeout games. This guy's unbelievable. You got Zajac, Palmieri doing their thing on the third line with Pajot, and obviously Martin, Cizikas, and Clutterbuck. They're going to need Matt Barzal to step up some more. He had 3 goals in 3 games against Boston, and he's starting to play well. That I see Islanders in 7. I wouldn't. The problem is against the Lightning, you don't know because these teams have not matched up all year. So it feels like 95 when the Devils played Red Wings. Everybody's like, Red Wings best team. Going to sweep them, and then it turns out to be the other way. Tampa Bay on the other side looks really strong. They got the depth. Both teams have really good depth. I give the edge, obviously, Tampa in a lot of categories, but one place I don't give them advantage in is home ice because the Islanders crowd, I experienced it firsthand. That could change the series on its head, and they are loud, they're rocking, they're having fun. And the way that building is set up, it makes it difficult for opposing teams to come in there.
Well, it's going to be an interesting, and I want to give a shout out to John Gonzalez. He is the organizer of the Sports Authorities, which I'm not sure if you share content to, but it's a great site, and we thank John for allowing our shows to get on there and any other content that we post. So thanks for coming in today, John. It's funny. One of the things, where do you get the coaching edge in this Islanders Tampa Bay series? I mean, I like Trotz myself, but it seems like a toss up to me. But what do you think about the I'm always intrigued by coaching matchups in any sport.
I mean, both guys really do make great adjustments on the fly. They should change their series. I mean, look what Trotz did. He limited Sidney Crosby to 2 points. He basically took the top line of Boston out. Obviously, they got their goals on a power play and here and there. But he knows how to make those quick in-game adjustments. If he doesn't see something right, he's going to, make things – he's going to change things a little bit. And then He's going to make his top guys like Pollock and Pellick match up against certain players, and they're going to shut the neutral zone down like they've always done, neutral zone trap it and all that kind of stuff. And, it's funny because you noticed in the Boston series that they were making little slight adjustments, but John Cooper can do the same thing. He did the same thing against Carolina. And I really see it. Even I like Trotz myself, but don't count on John Cooper because he's a really good coach. And he's been doing it for so long down in Tampa. And he's been in that organization forever. He won a Calder Cup with them down in Syracuse. He's won a Stanley Cup now. And he's got this team playing with an edge. And they've been through some adversity, but the Islanders are the little engine that could, and they just keep coming and coming and coming. And Trotz, like everybody says, neutral zone trap, boring, this and that, the other thing. Well, if I was at my house, I'd show you the 3 Stanley Cup banners that were hanging in my room. That they won 3 Stanley Cups. Look, Tampa implemented a little bit of it last year. I saw it. The Islanders obviously are playing it. It wins hockey games. So don't tell me it's boring because everybody does it. But it's going to be interesting to see how these coaches in-game adjust, especially like Tampa with their speed. Can they get through the trap a little bit? How are they going to do it? Obviously, Tampa's got the edge in goalie. They obviously got the edge in defense, though. I'm not going to knock Islanders defense because they're playing really well, too. Toss up front. Tampa has the more skilled players, but the Islanders can put the goals in, too. And that was something that was lacking coming into the playoffs and still was, but they're taking advantage of opportunities when it comes around. The biggest thing, I will agree with that, John Gonzalez.
Well, we didn't mention Lou Lamoriello. He's a guy you're fond of, I'm sure.
Well, look, I'm gonna say this. Like I said it on my show yesterday, when we did it at the Canes practice facility. Look, Lou and I have some history. We go back and forth. He was great with the Devils. His time was up with New Jersey. He went to Toronto, kind of a figurehead there. He came to New York, and he made a couple of moves, brought in Trotz, signed a couple of guys. But remember, it's Gar Snow's team too. Gar Snow has an imprint on all the teams. He drafted a lot of these guys that are there, brought in some of these guys. So you can't discount what Gar Snow did here. So, like I said, Tampa's got the edge on everything. The Islanders, they can put some goals in the net. Both power plays are clicking. And for the Islanders, you got to stay out of the penalty box. Carolina learned the hard way. Florida learned the hard way. The Tampa Bay Lightning power play is too deadly to just keep giving them opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. But the Islanders are the least penalized team in the league for a reason. So it's going to be interesting to see these two teams match up. Today, game 1 at 3 p.m. today.
Yeah, game 1 today. The other series starts tomorrow, correct? Vegas against Montreal, and again, how do you see that matchup lining up with the things that we've talked about as far as the lines of forwards and goalies and coaching, of course?
It's interesting. You got 2 Hall of Fame goalies pretty much going up against each other, and Carey Price and Marc-Andre Fleury, 2 guys that are gonna play. They're gonna do their things. Carey Price looks 2014. Carey Price.
Fleury seems like he's playing some of his best.
Fleury is playing some of his best hockey of his career at this age. Obviously, he always plays well when he goes back to Montreal. The French Canadians always do when they go to the Bell Center. It's the Max Pacioretty Bowl. He was traded from Montreal to Vegas, but in that return, Nick Suzuki went back the other way to Montreal. Nick Suzuki was one of the Vegas Knights, Golden Knights' first ever draft picks. So it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, everybody's gonna give the edge to Vegas in this series, but Mark Weiss's appearance here on TGI Sports Talk, everybody. So
how you doing?
Sorry, guys.
But Vegas,
he's not in uniform today.
What?
He's not in uniform today.
No, he's not in uniform today. But Vegas got the edge in a lot of things, obviously. Obviously offense, defense. But Montreal can play with any team, and they match up better with Vegas than they did with Colorado. Colorado brought too much speed with them. But the way Dominic Ducharme is having this team play, that break did them really well. So he can implement his system. Philip Deneau is going to be – that line with Philip Deneau's line is going to be shadowing Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone. Mark Stone's an underrated player in this league. He's probably getting the national attention he deserves because all those years in Ottawa, he's the same player. He's up for the Selke. He probably should win it. Defensively, Montreal's got good players back there, and Jeff Petry's probably going to miss game 1, but he's definitely going to return in the series. Jake Evans, the kid who got hit by Mark Scheifele, is progressing nicely, still in league concussion protocol. Probably won't see him in the series. Maybe we'll see there, but most likely not right now. We'll see if he passes concussion protocol. If he does, then he's probably going to enter the lineup. But Caulfield Suzuki line has been playing really well. They've changed the dynamic of this Canadiens team after Game 2 against Toronto, and I think if Caulfield was in the lineup earlier, the Canadiens might have won that series earlier than they did.
Yeah.
Obviously, Carey Price, he's got to stand on his head. If Carey goes, the Canadiens go, and he keeps continuing to steal series. And I like the Islanders. The Canadiens are flourishing and being the underdog. No one's going to give them a chance. They're going to come in, they're going to slow the game down, and their goal is to take the crowd out in Vegas, like the Islanders' job is to do in Tampa. Just split and go home. That's all you need to do. Take one game and just head back. That's what their job is. Montreal is going to play well. Obviously, the break, they had 8 days off between games, but I think it's going to help some of their older players, especially like the guys like the Perrys, the Webbers. Obviously, Price loves the breaks because he always plays well. It's going to be a good series. Obviously everybody said, the winner of the North's just going to get creamed. I don't think so. I think this is going to be a really good series to watch. Like I said last night on my show, my heart wants to see Montreal and the Islanders just because it'd be just two fun teams to watch. My head says Vegas and the Lightning, but I hope my head is wrong and my heart's right because that's the real matchup I want to see.
What's the fan situation in Montreal?
Right now it's 2,500 fans in the Bell Center, but the Canadian organization has asked the Quebec government to increase the amount of fans that can be at the Bell Center for the conference semifinals.
And I'm assuming, I don't know where the U.S. teams are, but all of them are pretty close to 100%, if not.
Vegas is definitely 100%. Tampa's definitely 100%. And the Islanders are definitely 100%.
Yeah. So there's an effect. So let's, key on to Montreal still. How much of an effect do you think that has, the fact that they have not played in front of fans most of the year, the Canadians, and now they're going to go to a pretty hostile environment in Vegas? Do you think it's going to matter or not?
No, I don't think it's going to matter to them. It doesn't matter. They played against 500 fans in Winnipeg. Didn't bother them. What changed the series also in the Toronto-Montreal series was that there was fans in the Bell Center for Game 6, and it probably pushed the Canadians over the edge. They don't care. They're the underdog. They're not supposed to win. Yeah. They got nothing to lose.
Right. They
weren't even supposed to be in this position.
You're right. That's why I think the Canadians and the Islanders would be the dream matchup for that reason, and also, from a historical standpoint, if my memory serves, I mean, the first Islanders dynasty kind of replaced the Canadians dynasty.
They did, yeah, they did.
Much, right?
Yeah. So the late 70s, the Canadians won 4 straight. Then the Islanders won 4 straight, and then the Oilers won 2. Canadians won 1, and if it wasn't for Steve Smith, the Oilers probably would have won 5 in a row. So, I mean, it all is coming back. And remember, Islanders, Canadians in 93, the two teams, that split the dynasties, and then the Canadians won in 93. So it feels like those two teams are on a collision course. But again, you got two juggernauts there, Tampa and Vegas, teams that are supposed to be here. Tampa's back in the conference Final Four for the 5th time in 7 years. So
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, John Cooper, like I said, what he's done with that team, and all those guys have pretty much, if Tampa's going to win this game, and if they're going to win the cup this year, it's probably going to be the last time you see these guys all together like this.
Yeah. Well, winning back-to-back in any sport is a difficult task, and it's always fun to watch teams go after it. So that'll be fun. So I'll put you on the spot now in both these series. And let's start with the Islanders and the Tampa Bay. I know where your heart wants to see. What does your head say is going to happen here?
Lightning in 6.
Lightning in 6. I'm going to stay with the Islanders to stay hot, and I'm going to take them in 7 games myself. And how about Vegas and Montreal?
I'm going to say Vegas is going to win in 6-2. But like I said, look, the only time I picked the Islanders was against Pittsburgh. I picked the Bruins to beat the Islanders, and it was wrong. I have to stay with picking against them, and I hope I'm right because.
Yeah, good point. Actually, talking about the Islanders and Habs in '75 was a classic series. Good point.
Yeah, well, the Islanders were just starting there, so yeah, giving me the odds. Of course, the Lightning are favorite. I Lightning clear favorite.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Vegas in that too, just because Fleury is just playing such good.
The thing is, Price is playing so well too, so it could go either way. And like you said, like we said off the top, you don't know how these teams are going to match up against each other because they didn't play each other all year. We could say you could predict anything you want, but you don't know until these teams start playing against each other because we haven't seen it all year, which makes it so intriguing.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. Before I let you go, I got to have my obligatory conversation about the Rangers coaching situation.
Oh, real quick, one of my friends just texted me. He says real puck drop is at 325 today because of all the stuff that happens at 3 to 325 because of talk and stuff.
I assume that's one any sporting event.
Well, unlike the only spot that I really see games really being played on time is in European soccer. It's like it's whatever the kick is. That's the time they start, and they have all the other stuff during their pregame show. I kind of wish the NHL would drop the puck at 8 p.m. instead of waiting, or 3 p.m. instead of waiting forever.
Well, I think part of it's TV too. They're trying to mislead you because they want to get the viewers in, and it happens consistently. And get to the playoffs for baseball and football, it gets ridiculous. So back again, my weekly conversation about the saga of hiring a coach for the Rangers. Gallant again still appears to be the front runner, but some other new names have come into play in the press this week, and I don't know how serious they are. And they're coaches that are currently employed and have just recently left the playoffs. Is there anything to Bruce Cassidy or Brandon Moore or Paul Maurice being in play for this job?
I don't think any of those names. I mean, I think probably Brendan Moore, if anything, if he does leave Carolina, he's going with Ron Francis up to Seattle because those guys have known each other. Francis hired Brendan Moore, like the whole thing. They go back and forth together. Brendan Moore wants his coaches to be taken care of down in Carolina. The contract extension is in place for the Hurricanes, but he hasn't signed it yet because he wants his coaching staff and trainers to be taken care of. And
which a team doesn't want to pay him, right? Is that the standoff?
I mean, pretty much the owner, is a little cheap, so he doesn't want to throw the bank at these guys. But if he doesn't do it, then he's going to lose his staff and he's going to be looking for a new head coach. To be honest, I think like the front runner for the Rangers job is Gerard Gallant. I think that's
Gallant's
the guy that Gallant's still there. Obviously, they brought in Tocchet for second interview.
I was going to say Rick Tockett's in the conversation too, but you don't see him as a serious candidate.
I mean, I could see him getting the job, but the thing is, I think they want somebody that can bring them over the edge a little bit to the promised land to say, and I think Gallant can do that. It just, again, the makeup of this team, like where are you going to go? There are a bunch of people out there. Again, like if the Bruins get rid of Bruce Cassidy, that's fine. Again, with the whole Tuukka Rask situation, the torn labrum in his hip, who's the one that decided he could play in Game 5 and Game 6? His mobility was very poor. It was very limited against the Islanders. You could clearly see it.
Yeah.
Who made that move? The Bruins have a lot of free agents. Yeah, I think Cassidy fits up the Bruins, but the Bruins window is closing, and it's closing real quick. Like the Capitals is closing real quick. The Rangers are an up-and-coming team. They got a Norris Trophy finalist on their team, and Adam Fox. Personally, I think he should win the award the way he played this year. The backbone of that team, really good, strong defensively. They just got to get a coach that can just keep them on the same path. They keep like I said, they keep sending mixed messages about rebuild, and we're still going after it. We want somebody, but then you had the guy, but no one liked him. The thing was, what killed Quinn, like we said on here, is that when the coaching staff was out for the weeks that they were for the COVID break, and they brought in Knobloch and Drury up from the AHL. And the team was playing better under those guys than they were under Quinn. You knew it was over. So let's see what they do there. Like I said, I think Gallant's the favorite. And to answer John's question, if Brindamore leaves Carolina, he's going to Seattle. Seattle's also looking at Rick Tocchet. They're looking at Gallant, the normal the guys around the league. It'll be interesting to see who they hire and how Seattle plays because, again, Vegas had a leg up on everybody. And I think Seattle will be competitive, but I don't think they'll go on the run like Vegas did.
Yeah. Does the Islanders' success puts more pressure on the Rangers and
yes,
because of who their owner is, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the Islanders are the ones that set everything in motion. The Rangers were so close. If they had taken a couple games back in April against them, heading into May, this is a whole different conversation. The Islanders might not even made the playoffs. The Rangers would have been in the playoffs. So the Islanders pretty much set everything in motion for what's going on with the Rangers right now. And obviously the success is
Carlos is very consistent. He hates every coach for every team.
Hey, I mean, look, I don't understand why people hate on Gallant because he's a good coach. Look what he did in Vegas. Look what he did in Florida.
Great job.
He did a great job in Vegas, and he did a great job in Florida. This guy's a really good coach. Like I said, I don't think the Rangers need to go backwards with Tortorella. It's just going to be interesting to see. Like I said, the Islanders definitely played a role in this, and their success doing things the right way, getting back, being consistent, and just bringing in the right guy and playing the right system.
Yeah, cheer the Islanders. I agree. Let's give Carlos one more shot here. If he was a GM, I'd look at younger coach in St. Louis. I can't say the name.
In St. Louis and LeCavier or guys who won a champion. But the problem is bringing a guy like St. Louis and LeCavier, you just don't know. Have they coached before? Where are they coaching? You just can't bring in guys just to bring in guys that don't know. I mean, like Gretzky's the greatest player in the world, wasn't the greatest coach in the world.
Exactly. Well, that's often the case. Great players don't turn into great coaches because they expect everybody to live up to their standard.
It can't do that. You got to bring a guy that's a coach like all the time. Like Dominic Ducharme is a really good coach out there. I mean, you can't go back to college way because it just isn't working. So you got to bring in one of the recycled veteran guys somewhere, or you're going to find somebody that you see within. Maybe they promote somebody within the organization.
Agreed. Listen, Jim, great stuff. I think we're going to have a great couple semifinals here. We'll stay. Hopefully, we'll do this on Sundays if you're available through the playoffs and stay on top of things through the championship crowning.
Absolutely. I'd love to do it. This is fun every Sunday morning. I love doing it. This is the playoffs are here. Stanley Cup semifinals are here. Game 1 Islanders goes today around 3:25. So, even though it says 3 o'clock, it's 3:25. And then obviously tomorrow is 8 p.m., which means like 8:15, 8:20.
Right.
Between Canadians and Golden Knights, it should be a fun one. These are going to be intriguing series for sure. And it's going to be. We're down to the Final Four here. It's nitty-gritty, and then we got, once this is over, expansion draft, NHL draft, free agency begins. It's only beginning. I look at it.
Every league's trying to follow the NFL model, right, and stay in the news 12 months a year, 24 months a year. Where did I get that from? 12 months a year, and it's a great job by all these leagues. I think so.
I think so. I think so too. But the problem is NFL is king, and they know how to do it the best.
Yeah, they do. They for sure. Listen, Jim, thanks for coming in, and as always, bringing some great information to the table. Wish you guys luck today. Go bring your own cup home today.
Absolutely, we're gonna do our best here at 11 o'clock today. Gonna get it done, bring it home for us, and hopefully it's a good car ride home. And bringing the chip home. And Keith, thanks again for having me on this morning. It's always been fun. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Great luck. You too. Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Guys, Jim Beringer from The Last Word on Hockey. What a great, knowledgeable guy. Brings it to the table every week. I don't know. I missed a couple comments here. We'll see. Oh, I know, Carlos. You like young guys. You like guys who can deal with. Oh, Kenny's out of here. The barefoot golfer I hope he puts his work boots on to talk with his contractor. And Seattle will have a good team next season. Possibly. Carlos, they don't have the advantage that Vegas had when they came in as an expansion team, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, excuse me. To wrap up the NHL, I like myself, Vegas, and the Islanders. But I agree with Jim Beringer that the best matchup, I think, from a fan standpoint, TV standpoint, would be the Islanders and the Canadians. It'd be a lot of fun. What else we got here? We got Seattle. Okay, good. All right, guys, that's it for the NHL today. We're going to move on to some Major League Baseball. And my mouse stopped working here. See if it's... Probably should have checked the battery in it before. So hang on one second while we try to do this. Hope you guys are having some fun. I hope you're enjoying the outdoor shows. I am enjoying this when we can do it. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to see what the heck is going on, but I work in the dark most of the time anyway. So, all right, let's see. Guess we're going to have to do this a different way. Let's look at the Major League Baseball scoreboard real quick before we jump into anything else. Keith's got to remember his work computer is not a touchscreen. All right, bear with me, guys. I'll get there. I promise. Somehow I lost my Major League Baseball thing. All right, here we go. Scores from last night and yesterday. Let's go through the scoreboard and we'll talk. We're going to talk a little bit about the standings as we normally do. And we'll do the whole gamut. So let's go through it. Washington yesterday beats the Giants, who are still in first place by 2 games over the Dodgers out west, playing some good baseball. But yesterday they run into some problems against the Nationals, who are not playing great baseball, but a good win for them yesterday. The Yankees, another tough loss yesterday. They had a furious rally in the 9th inning after blowing a horrible game on Thursday night, then being off on Friday. They lost Thursday night, awful. Chapman gives up 2 2-run home runs to blow the game, and Yankees have got some problems, guys, that have got to be addressed. And Brian Cashman's done a horrible job here, horrible job. But I'm going to tell you something. The heat is on Aaron Boone right now. This team's only 2 games over 500. Falling further back in the standings, which we'll take a look at in a second. But we're getting close to, a month. We're only a few weeks away from 4th of July. This team, gosh, if you take away the first 10 games of last season, they're probably under 500 in the last year of games. Aaron Boone's in trouble. There's a lot to call in the media and amongst a lot of fans for them to make a change. Whether it's fair, Yankees are unbalanced. I agree. Boone's in trouble. John, I agree 100%. I like Aaron Boone. I don't like the way he's handled the pitching staff this year, especially. I'll be honest with you. Almost every other manager in baseball, when Chapman gives up that 2-run home run to tie the game for Thursday night, they would take him out of the game. But he left him in, and you saw what happened. Yankees bats are coming alive, but the pitching stinks. Now the bullpen's overworked and not playing well, and the bats are coming alive a little bit, but they still play horrible situational baseball. Carlos thinks Boone. Apparently, we found a coach that Carlos likes. Listen, Buck Showalter is out there. Buck Showalter managed the Yankees once before. Buck Showalter pretty much got the shaft in 1995, after the 1995 season when they lost to Seattle, and a great series when the Yankees were first starting to get back into relevance. And George Steinbrenner fired him. Everybody loves George Steinbrenner, right? Everybody loves George Steinbrenner. I don't. George contributed nothing to the Yankees' success except his money, right? That is 90 teams weren't because of George Steinbrenner. They got built when he was suspended by Gene Michael and Buck Showalter. And then when they were ready to come to total fruition, he fires Buck. And not only did he fire Buck, by the way, and hired Joe Torre, which God bless Joe Torre. I love Joe Torre. Did a great job here. Perfect manager for that team. Maybe Buck wouldn't have been because he's much tighter than Joe. But interesting enough, after he fires Buck and hires Joe, a couple weeks later, he's trying to hire Buck back. So that's the kind of things that were going on here. Buck is done. Buck's a great manager, by the way, Carlos. I know you. I think it's an age. There might be some age bias here, Carlos. I'm not sure. I got to look into this with you. I like Buck. I like Buck too, John. You know the thing about Buck? Buck learned from his first time around, a couple times around with the Yankees, and then with the Diamondbacks. He was their first manager. He built that team into the team became a champion, and he was wound a little tight. But he changed a lot from the time he managed the Yankees and the Diamondbacks and the Rangers and then got to the Orioles, and he was a different type manager. Come down to Queens for a game and beers and we can talk baseball. I hope you mean watch a game, Carlos, because I'm a little old, but either way, we might do that. I promise you. We'll keep it under consideration. We'll talk more about the Yankees in a bit. What other scores we got from yesterday? Being without my mouse is not good. I need to hang on one second, guys. Bear with me. All right, guys, we'll see if we can get some technical assistance here for my mouse so I can make this easier. It's a little hard working off my mouse pad. So anyway, what else we got? We got the Athletics beat the Royals 11-2. The Athletics continue to lead the West and playing very, very well. And now I cannot seem to scroll down the screen. Here we go. Bear with me. The Angels, who have won 5 in a row and have crawled back to 500 out West, winning without Mike Trout. Very, very impressive, actually. I'm not sure what it speaks to about the team, and maybe sometimes teams, can gather themselves when there's some adversity, and maybe that's what the Angels are doing here. The Marlins in a bunched up National League East, other than the Mets, pulled away a little bit, 3-game lead, I believe they have. They win yesterday over the Braves, who are just reeling. I don't know what's wrong with the Braves. Thank you. I have no idea what's wrong with the Braves. They're my pick to win not just this division, but win. It's still not working. I think I might have a bad mouse. Terrible. Anyway, the Braves have just not got it together. Their pitching either lets them down. Ian Anderson, by the way, a great game the other day with their last win. I think they've lost 4 in a row now. But before that, at least I think they won the game that he pitched. But he pitched 7 shutout innings. Local product here from Shenandoah, Ian Anderson, great player for the Braves. But the Braves continue to disappoint in my mind. Guys, I'll catch your comments in a little bit. The Rays win again. First place, surprising. Again, every year the Rays find a way to trade all their best players, not all their best players, but some of their best players, including in season. They trade Willie Adames this year for a relief pitcher who turns out to be helping them tremendously. Great run. You know what, Brian Cashman, watch what they're doing in Tampa Bay with no money. The White Sox, who I still say are the best team in baseball, with a big win, 15-2 yesterday over the Tigers. I'll catch up on you guys' comments, I promise. Brewers 7-4. The Brewers have moved into a first-place tie with the Cubs in the Central of the National League East, playing much better baseball. Yelich is starting to get it together. They have got some great pitching. All they need is a bit of hitting, and this team, that's why they traded for Adames. To get a little more offense at the middle infield positions. But listen, this team is loaded with pitchers. They have starting pitchers and relievers. Very good team. Mets win again, 4-1. Good news for them. And DeGrom will probably not miss a start. They got a little scare with him and some tightness in his elbow the other day, or flexor I guess they called it flexor tendonitis, which again, I'm not really sure what that is. But good news for the Mets that he will not miss a start. No news yet. I haven't had an update on Syndergaard. Maybe Dwight has some, or Dwight. Sorry, one of my other managers at work is Dwight. I was thinking of Drew. The Red Sox lose 7-2, but they continue to certainly play above where we thought they would. The Reds, who have fought back, I think they've won 5 in a row, I want to say. I made a note here somewhere. Yeah, 5 straight, 7-3 in their last 10. They've climbed back to 500. They had up to a great start and fell backwards, but good job by them in getting back in position here. The Nationals lose to the in the second game to the Giants 2-1, and the Cubs beat the Cardinals 7-2, and the Rangers 12-4 over the Dodgers. The Dodgers can't be losing games 12-1 to the Rangers. You just can't do it. All right, let's see where I left off here. Make sure the mouse is turned on. Well, thanks, Billy. I did do that. I've been having trouble with it for 2 days. It's funny. I'm not sure what the problem is. Just makes it hard to kind of work the mouse pad and the mouse. Sometimes then I get it going and then it doesn't work again. I don't know what the deal is. We'll worry about it later. Technical difficulty, story of my life. John Gonzalez, Brewers have been a surprise. Brewers to me have been a surprise in the fact they've been so inconsistent. John, I thought they were going to be a really good team. I picked them to win this division. I think the Cubs are the big surprise in that division myself. Tampa has great scouting. You know what? I agree, Carlos. I know we don't agree all the time, and I kind of like that because it's a good dynamic. But Tampa's scouting, the front office work they do in the scouting department and managing their lower budget than certainly probably I don't know if it's everybody in baseball, but it's damn close outside of Miami, is excellent. Tampa's been doing it more or less for decades. I agree, Drew. I don't know how they do this. Well, not all decades, but at least the last decade. Well, more than the last decade, right? They were in the World Series in late 2000s. Yeah, it's. I will give you 2 decades, I guess, Drew. The White Sox, that's a bubble that will pop. I don't know, Carlos. The only thing that could pop that White Sox bubble in my mind, because again, great pitching, really good offensive team. To me, the only thing that derails that is if Tony La Russa goes off the rails. My screen's still on. Oh, thank you, by the way. Let's go back to let's get to our Major League Baseball update. Thank you, by the way, Billy. I get excited about getting your guys' comments, and then I forget to change my little banner. Let's see. DeGrom needs to relax for a few games. Well, sorry, guys. I've had a little problem with my throat being congested for a few days now. I don't know if it's allergies or what. I don't think they're going to sit him. They need him. Here's our update on Syndergaard. Yeah, I know Syndergaard had the setback. Wasn't sure if that had changed at all or gotten better or worse. Because I know there was some talk Syndergaard might miss the season. And that could use Carrasco. But if they come back healthy in August, they're going to be a great addition, whether they pitch out of the bullpen or the starting rotation. Reds are hot. Team suspect. I agree, Carlos, with that specifically. Thor and Cookie need to take time and just relax. Don't rush back. I don't disagree with a guy like Syndergaard. I think if the Mets bring him back in August or September, whenever it might be, or maybe just before September so he can participate in the playoffs, he may very well pitch out of the bullpen. Tony La Russa will lose his cool and mess up this hot skid. Well, again, if that's your reasoning for thinking the bubble will burst for the White Sox, Carlos, I don't necessarily disagree because, to me, he's the wild card and he's the only thing, even though he's a great manager, he's not used to managing these kids today. And Carlos, I am not telling you by any means that I agree with the way that the game is played, as you know, which we're going to get into a little bit in a second. But, Tony La Russa's got to find a way to adjust to these guys or things will go badly for him. A couple of other injury notes that I made note of here. Max Muncy went to the IL for the Dodgers. Big loss for the Dodgers. They've had a lot of injuries, man. A lot of injuries all over baseball. So it's really not an excuse. But the Dodgers have been hit as hard as anybody. The Mets as well. But he's got the the always mysterious oblique injury. Let's see what else we got here. I wrote down. Can't read that. We talked about DeGrom. I guess I covered all that. All right. So, a couple other things I want to chat about quickly. Let's go to this page here. But listen, guys, I did Major League Baseball. God, I'm going to lose my cool now because if you watch my vlog, let's see what else is going on here. Trainwreck in Detroit is coming. Trainwreck's already here. Mets, 21 injuries. Come on, Rojas. Look at it. I don't disagree. I think the Mets, if I didn't mention it today, I've said, and I said on my shows Friday, well, not my show. I had Derek May on, but when I was on Mac and Jack Friday morning, when I did my show with Dan Harris from the UK, at 2:00 on Friday, we talk about New York sports, and I gave Rojas a lot of credit for what they've done. Obviously, the weakness of the division has helped the Mets, but you cannot discount the job Rojas has done there, managing these injuries. Again, you got McNeil and Conforto out until probably the end of the month at least. Nemo's out till who knows how long. They've been without DeGrom for starts. They've been without Walker for starts. Davis is out still. Tremendous job by Rojas. I give him all kinds of credit. And I certainly do not want to give the impression that I don't think he's done a great job, because he has. Great job. And by the way, Marcus Stroman, who is not one of my favorite players, has done a great job of stepping up and really carrying that pitching staff. Their only disappointment right now in the pitching staff, I think, is Peterson. He's the major one. What's Carlos got here? I got that. Carlos, that team is playing for each other. Drury and the Mob Squad. Yeah, Brandon Drury, blast from the past, had a couple good years in Arizona and really flamed out with the Yankees. I think he had some anxiety issues, even one of the reasons. It should be a great summer. If the Yankees can turn it around, which I'm not confident they can do, it'll be a great summer watching the Mets and the Yankees both. All right, let me get back to the topic I was going to move to here. Unless we got anything else I missed. Let me check. Okay. You guys feel free to comment all you want, because this is a topic that is going to probably create great debate on both sides, or maybe none. Maybe I'm all by myself on an island. Well, Major League Baseball is very close to implementing new rules for foreign substances. And I just don't get it. Guys, here's the thing. I don't know if you watch my vlog or not, but I'm going to do my vlog in a short period of time here, and we're going to have a little discussion, and we'll go back and forth. I think this is BS. Every single rule change in Major League Baseball since 1968 has been in favor of more offense. They lowered the mound, the ballparks got smaller, the baseballs got harder. The bats got harder, more solid. So, you talk about exit velocities. Look at the baseball bats, the DH rule, the strike zone. Every single rule change that I can think of, somebody else who got something, they can give it to me, has been in favor of scoring more runs. And also, as far as pitchers using some pine tar or whatever other sticky substance they may be using to get extra spin rate on the ball, another great stat in baseball, right? Spin rate. When did you ever hear of that? Do you think we cared about Bob Gibson or Tom Seaver's spin rate? Who cares? The hitters can use a pine tar, and don't tell me, please, that the only reason pine tar is allowed is to prevent injuries, so hitters can hold onto the bat and it's not flying all over the field and hitting players and hitting fans. Somebody tried to throw that at me Friday. Guys, they get advantage from pine tar. You hold the bat steadier, just like you could hold a ball steadier. You can actually swing the bat harder. You can give extra lift to the ball if that's what you want to do. So there's an advantage that the hitters get from using a foreign substance that is legal. And I don't have a problem with the pitchers trying to get an edge where they can. Hitters and pitchers have been trying to get an edge on each other for 125 years. That's, again, my math could be off as far as that goes, but from the beginning of baseball, they've tried to get an edge on each other. There's been foreign substances used on and off, and baseballs look the other way. Spitballs are outlawed, but until you were being obvious in what you were doing, scuffing baseballs disallowed. And certain guys would do it all the time, and everybody was doing it, and every once in a while they get caught and get thrown out of games. But not very often. There was no suspensions. Gaylord Perry, Don Sutton, Joe Niekro. Could name 100 guys. But the only reason they're doing this is because the runs are down, the batting average is down to 236. It's not about, to me, again, this goes back to the same thing as the baseball is causing all these offensive issues. The offensive issues, Rob Manfred, if you want to fix them, teach guys how to play the game and hit balls where people aren't standing 9 guys on one side of the field and swinging for the fences and and teams being totally fine with, guys striking out 200 times a year. That's what's wrong with baseball. And that's what's wrong with scoring in baseball. Keep trying to legislate so every game is 9-8, Rob, and there'll be nobody watching the games except maybe some of the young guys who grew up on, Major League Baseball video games. Who wants to watch that crap? So anyway, I think it's baloney that they're legislating this. Let me go. We got a lot of comments here. So we just got a comment from Jim. We'll put that up. Thanks for being on, Jim. Thanks for having you, and you enjoy your day and good luck. I'm just trying to catch up on some things. We'll get back. Agreed. Controlling injuries is part of pitching staff as well. Guarantee. I agree. Spider spray. Thank you for the name. Taking names and ruining pitching contracts. Ridiculous. Analytics is ruining Major League Baseball. I agree. But we're worried about foreign substances. Again, you're worried about that, but we continue to allow guys to strike out. We care more about exit velocity and spin rates than we do about, the game being played the right way. Rob Manfred, I'll keep mentioning you until you're gone. They mentioned investigations of Cole Bauer and a few other players have terrible games. Well, maybe they stopped doing it because, again, it's not just investigations. Major League Baseball's mandated the umpires to be on top of this 200%. Don't give the pitchers any chance. That's even no chance. Let's just play T-ball. Take the pitchers out of the game altogether. Do I think the new rules are helping batters or the pitchers? Well, every new rule since 1968, 50 years, 50 plus years, Dave, has helped major league hitters, not pitchers. If this rule gets implemented, it'll help hitters as well, because we're worried about the offense in the game and people not watching. Well, first of all, if all they care about is home runs and teams scoring 9 or 10 runs a game, then please don't watch the games. The sport's not for you. Gaylord Perry. Gaylord Perry did this forever. Gaylord Perry threw spitballs. He threw a puffball. That was my favorite pitch. He'd load his hand up with rosin. Another foreign substance, by the way, that players are allowed to use legally. And throw this puffball where the ball would just come out of a white puff, cloud of puff. I missed one here, I think. Hold on. I think I missed several here. Hang on, guys. Gaylord Perry. Carlos. The metrics on hitting is crazy for spin right versus hitting. It's stupid stuff. Pine tar always reminds me of George Brett. Me too. Me too. And there's a time where there's a rule, but again, we don't enforce that rule. So again, just like the foreign substances, the illegal pitches, guys know that they're trying to get an edge on everybody, and we didn't enforce everything. Billy Martin, knew an obscure rule in the rule book and called it, and the Yankees end up for at least 2 weeks winning that game, and 2 weeks later they lost it. But it is a great one. Yeah, I know you, Carlos. I know, and I've talked about it for forever. That Major League Baseball is ruining the game. The people running the game, and I'll say Rob Manfred. I don't know that the game will survive Rob Manfred's reign as commissioner. He every move he makes, I swear, is to help improve offenses. Guys, you're going to laugh at me really crazily, but one of the reasons I was unable to use my mouse is I was using the wrong mouse. Please don't laugh at me. I'll get back to your comments in a second. Hold on. Oh, you can't make me up sometimes. Where was I? Joe Negro and the Emery board. That was a classic, John. If you guys don't remember that, it's got to be back in the late 80s, I guess. Twins were really good then, right? Joe Negro gets checked by the umpires, and they want to come out and look at his pockets, and he puts his hand, they say empty his pockets, and as he pulls his hand out, he flips an emery board about 10 feet away. Like nobody was going to notice. Dave Guyette, some of the players you mentioned are in the Hall of Fame. Is it right to put cheaters in the Hall of Fame? They're not. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't look at it as cheating. I really don't, guys. I see it as trying to get an edge. If you're trying to skirt around rules, again, there's different eras that pitchers dominate hitters and pitchers or vice versa. And I just don't understand why we have to legislate everything when you can take care of things on the field in a lot of cases. Gaylord Perry's in a Hall of Fame. He didn't just. Here's the thing about Gaylord Perry. Let me go back to Dave's comment for a second. Here's the thing. Gaylord Perry's a great example of a guy. Don Sutton's another one in the Hall of Fame. And they were accused of cheating, to use Dave's word, by doctoring baseballs. Thing is, they didn't do it that often, but they made you think they were doing it every pitch, which was part of the gamesmanship of the game. Every move has been legislated to kill pitching duels. I agree, Drew, and this is my problem. I've watched a bunch of games this year with DeGrom and Cole involved in 1-0, 2-1 games, and if they're those are games that you win with good pitching, good defense, fundamental baseball, timely hitting, moving base runners, but the baseball doesn't want that. Rob Manfred doesn't want that. Rob Manfred thinks everybody wants to see the ball fly over the fence. Yeah. Well, fine. I agree, Billy. But again, it's hard to catch them, which is fine. Keith Hayes, who's your favorite NFL team? Patriots. I'm not sure, it's a little off topic, but thank you for joining the show today, Keith. And yes, I am a longtime Patriot fan, not a bandwagon jumper. Season ticket holders in the 80s sat through a 1-15 season. Commissioner needs to be fired. Agree. Agree with you, Dave Guyette. I don't know which thing Dave's laughing at. John, tell me what you're laughing at, because I say a lot of stuff that's laughable. I don't know how funny, but it's laughable. This is just another, the way Major League Baseball is run just irritates the crap out of me if you can't tell. It's just nonsensical. The rules they put in arbitrarily. We're gonna experiment with all these rules in the minor leagues and independent leagues, and then it's all BS, guys. Come on. Baseball wasn't broken until baseball tried to fix it. Because it wasn't the NFL. So, I don't know. I guess mostly you guys agree with me. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, do I think guys ought to be cheating and loading up every baseball? No. But do I think pitchers need to find an edge because of all the rules that have been put into place to hurt them, as Drew mentioned before? Yes, do it. Find an edge. But be smart about how you do it. Which guys we talk? You talking about the guys that the other day? Yeah, I'm not going to look up a bunch of stats with a bunch of spin rates and stuff. I just don't have the energy for that. Relievers getting saves for 7-inning games, but you can't get a no-hitter for it. Again, another stupid baseball rule. That's a great point, Drew. I hadn't looked at it that way. Madison Bumgarner has still gotten credit for his no-hitter and probably never will, because they don't determine 7 innings as a full game. But baseball legislated that any doubleheader will be 7 innings and a full game. But you can't have a no-hitter for it. But you can get a save for finishing that game and saving that game in the 7th inning. So they're not only stupid in the Major League Baseball offices, but they're not even consistent. Play one game, rules from 1920, original equipment. We would laugh the players off the field. I don't know if the game would be that enjoyable. I don't want to go back to 1920. I'm happy with, 1962. Can you imagine looking at a ball that looks like 100 plus a mile, but it's actually going 90? No, I mean, that's part of the art of deception. But guys have been doing that, and I'm not sure the context of your comment or question, Carlos, but guys have been throwing pitches that look like they're going to be a fastball, and they're not for years. Palm balls, fork balls, split finger fastballs, right? Where they're 10 miles an hour slower than the pitch before, and they dive and dart all over the place. That's part of baseball. And not every pitcher, and even the pitchers who cheat, to use the words. Oh, you're talking about the pitch per innings stats are ridiculous. Well, again, one start for Garrett Cole. Bauer, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big Trevor Bauer fan. I can't give a I'm just not interested to look. But again, Cole's been lights out. Has he been using something? It was mentioned back in February. I think there was a story about it, and it went away. And it went away until Major League Baseball players started hitting 236. But the story said Garrett Cole been doing this for a while. He can't just be a good pitcher, right? He's got to be cheating. We got to have runs. That's the problem. So, well, that's my take on that, guys. What else? Anything else you guys want to talk about in the Major League, the world of Major League Baseball? Throw it out here now and we'll do it. I was going to talk about some all-star voting, but I didn't really get a chance to look up the numbers. Well, we still got about 6 weeks, so it's a little early in the voting anyway. I saw some stories this week. Whole story goes back to when he started the majors. Well, he just became, but then he sucked with the Pirates for a couple of years. I mean, well, that sucked, but whatever. It's not the pitcher's fault that they changed. I agree, Dave. Madison Bumgarner was not allowed to pitch 8th and 9th inning. Didn't rain. Didn't snow. The locust didn't come. All right, Bill. Have a great day. Buy me a car. Moves A's to Nashville. You know what? The A's, good point. Good point. It's something we haven't talked much about. A lot of talk about the A's moving. A couple of Nashville's one place that they've talked about. They've talked about some other places in California. They've been talked about other places in California through the years. It's a story that bears watching. The A's have been rumored to be moving since the 70s when they were a dynasty. Charlie Finley was talking about moving them to Colorado, and he was going to sell the team to Marvin Davis, who was going to move it to Colorado. Charlie wanted to move to Tampa Bay, I think, at one time. The A's never have been supported, even those years when they were winning back in the 70s, when they were winning 3 straight world championships. You know, during the regular season, they were getting 13,000 people to a game. You're going to move to Nashville. I'd love to move to Nashville when I retire. Albany Sports Card Show. Buy me a card. I'm getting a car and a card. See you later, Rick. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Won't allow the A's to move, just as they haven't allowed the Rays to move. I'll tell you what. I don't know how either one of these teams will continue to be viable, forever, with the poor fan support that they get in these areas. And to me, I'm sorry, if you don't support your team, don't be upset when they leave. Now, the problem is you got to be careful because, and this might be what Drew could be alluding to, and he can certainly confirm or deny. Major League Baseball owners have to approve this, right? And they all see they'll have their own little fiefdoms that they want to protect. The Yankees and Mets aren't going to allow a team to move to New Jersey or another team to move to New York. Toronto, there's talk about moving a team back to Montreal. I mean, they failed there once. I'm not really sure about this groundswell of support for a team in Montreal, but maybe Toronto will see that as their market. And I don't know. Major League Baseball's got some weird ideas about where a team's baseball market is, right? My brother lives in Utah, and he gets a Major League Baseball package because he's a Mets fan. Well, if the Mets are playing the Dodgers, the Angels, the Padres, or the Rockies, I think that's it. He can't watch any of those games because they're blacked out because they're considered in those teams' markets. So don't just think about LA, New York. Teams claim more than just their specific region as their domain. Oakland has terrible local government. Well, a lot of cities have that. That's a different topic. Tax rules affect them. Happens a lot of places. Toronto should move to Buffalo. I don't know that Toronto really has a problem or a fiscal problem with their franchise. I think that, when they win, the fans support them, but I don't think there's any problems with the Toronto team. Does Buffalo deserve a team? They might, but Toronto probably wouldn't let a team come in there. So put an indoor stadium in Buffalo. I don't like indoor stadiums. Give me outdoor sports. It's another thing that rankles my butt, man. For years, 100 years, well, not quite. Every sport was played outdoors. Weather was part of the equation, and then we take it out of play. Football, ridiculous. Nashville. Yeah, I'm trying to think if Nashville would be. Nashville's probably a market. I can't think of anybody in Major League Baseball that necessarily could make a claim that that's their market. Not sure. Maybe they can't. Again, given what I told you about this Utah market, I don't know. Maybe the Cubs and the White Sox and the Cardinals and the Royals have got problems. Guys in Tennessee split fan base. Did I miss one here? Nope. St. Louis Reds and Braves yeah, there you go. Which are all hundreds and hundreds of miles from Nashville. So, again, when you think about the market, Major League Baseball is very liberal in what they allow you to claim as a market, which I think is wrong. There's a lot of viable cities in this country that could support Major League Baseball or the NFL. Buffalo being one for baseball. I think they would support it. I really do. Nashville being another one. Obviously, they do very well with hockey and the Predators. And I realize when I talk about the indoor thing, it's tough for teams in the South to be able to play outdoors in 110-degree heat all winter. I get that. At least 100 miles. The A's stay in Northern California area, if not a new stadium in Oakland. San Jose has been mentioned for, again, decades. Sacramento is again, these are viable cities. And again, I think Northern California should be supported. They support the Giants. I mean, at least now. Back in the 70s, the Giants nearly moved to Tampa Bay. Horace Stoneman owned the team. I mean, we'll talk more about that Friday with Dan Epstein and some of these teams that nearly left. Sacramento, was known as a cow town at one point, but it's a viable major league, major sports venue. Vegas. How about Albany? Bring a team to Albany. There's a lot of people in upstate New York that would come from a long ways to watch Major League Baseball or, look they get 12,000 for arena football here. And that's as many as you can get. I think they would support a franchise, but they're never going to build a stadium upstate New York. So, and again, we've only touched on a handful of places that can handle it. But there's big cities in the Midwest that don't have teams. But again, the Cubs and the White Sox claim territory to everything from Chicago to the Dakotas. Well, again, city politics is crazy everywhere. Carlos, you spend time in California? Curious as to your inside knowledge. All right, guys, what else you got on the A's? Anything on Major League Baseball before we move on to the NBA? We really want to tick Carlos off today, so we're going to touch on a couple of things here. Oh, gosh. That could be so bad sometimes. Bear with me a second here, guys. All right, now that we know how to work the mouse again. All right, let's look at the NBA playoffs real quick. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Reading. I spent time reading sports business. I get it. Well, here's the thing, Carlos. You bring a winning team. The problem with all of this discussion is, except for a handful of cities, teams don't support losing teams. They just don't. The A's are the exception. They don't even support winning teams. And Tampa Bay, for that matter, they don't support the team either. So it's tough. I don't know. It's hard to figure what the heck is going on. NBA playoffs, and we're going to talk some of the awards. Really, like I said, probably get under Carlos' skin today, or he'll get under mine, one or the other. Saturday, let's see. What did we have for scores yesterday? And Friday. Let's go back to Friday's games first. Friday the 11th. 76ers bounce back. They've taken a 2-1 lead now over Atlanta, won 127 to 111. The Hawks had a great game in game one. You thought maybe they had what it took to put a scare in them. To talk about Joel Embiid being banged up, but he's come back and played some tremendous basketball the last two games. Philadelphia's now in control of the series 2-1. Probably will walk through the series now, I'm guessing. The Suns take a 3-0 lead over the Nuggets. A little surprising. The Suns, well coached, but that's Chris Paul's team. And Chris Paul is, I'm surprised at some of the talk that he may not opt out of his contract. And even if he does, I think he will negotiate a longer term deal with Los Angeles. With Phoenix, because I think he's found a home there. I really do. Hang on. I'll get to firing Tibbs in a minute. Give me a minute. Oh, speaking about hating the Knicks. Anyway, 3-0 lead for the Suns. Going to be very difficult for the Nuggets. I don't see them doing anything there. Obviously, I don't think any team in the NBA has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. I think the hated Red Sox are still the only team to do that. And yesterday, the Clippers really hammered the Jazz. A little surprising. They did move back home. They beat them up 132 to 106. They lead that series 2-1. I'm sorry, the Jazz lead that series 2-1. And I do think the Jazz will still find a way to pull that out. The other series, the teams that didn't play the last couple of nights will play today, I believe. What do we have today? And we got two games. We got the Nets and the Bucks, and the Nets lead that series 2-1. And we do have the Nuggets and the Suns. The Suns looking to close it out. The Nets up 2-1 over the Bucks. They lost the last game, but the Nets have impressed me a lot. Let me back up here a second. Monty got robbed. I'll talk about that in a second. Suns better team than Knicks this season before the playoffs. All right. We'll talk about that when we talk about the awards, Carlos, I promise. I want to talk about the Nets for a little bit. Nets up 2-1. Kevin Durant's been playing great basketball. Kevin Durant, I think, is the best player in basketball when he's healthy. I'm going to say again here, I'm very surprised at the way they've developed the chemistry after, again, I mentioned going into the playoffs that the one issue I saw for the Nets was the fact that their big three, Irving, Harden, and Durant, had played a total of 209 minutes together the entire season. And the chemistry was going to be a problem. Well, they now have started to get some great chemistry very quickly. It happened like that. They did turn the light switch on. And I'm going to tell you that I think a lot of it is because the coach is getting very, going back to the Philly series, Embiid playing as well as he is and playing hurt is very impressive. Carlos, I don't necessarily agree with your comment that great players don't need great chemistry. I've seen a lot of teams put together, over the years that, the chemistry, if the chemistry is not good, it doesn't matter how good the players are. Sometimes they can overcome it. But I think Steve Nash has done a great job here navigating, I'm not necessarily saying he's responsible for them developing this chemistry quickly. And I'll tell you who I think is responsible for that. Just to go to your comment, Carlos, great players, I will say they have developed a chemistry because of Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's a great teammate. Unlike Harden in the past, Kyrie Irving in the past. Durant makes people better around him while still dominating games on his own. But back to my original point, I do not think that Steve Nash, and I've talked about it a couple times here, and I've been berated about it on other shows, does not get the credit he deserves. Yes, he's got help on the bench for X's and O's and Mike D'Antonio, who's rumored be up for a couple of head coaching jobs, by the way. Probably won't get them. And if he does, he'll be losing games in the conference finals again, probably. But Steve Nash has navigated some pretty tricky waters this year. His best player didn't play half the schedule. His top three guys only played 200 minutes together. He navigated Harden coming in and incorporating him into this team. Now, a lot of credit goes to Harden for stepping back a little bit and being more of a distributor than a scorer. He's navigated the Kyrie Irving soap opera, which is nonsense. I'm not saying Kyrie's a bad player. I'm saying Kyrie's a bad guy to have on your team. So somebody is responsible for keeping this boat afloat with all this stuff going on through the course of the year. So do not discount the job that Steve Nash has done here. They need coaching, not like tips. We're going to get tips in every comment from this one out. These guys could have played together. Well, so what, though, Carlos? Those are a couple of weeks. And I'm not against NBA caliber teams. I mean, yes, I understand. International basketball's gotten much better, and the competition's gotten much better. The USA's not even a lock to win these tournaments anymore. But I still don't think. And all right, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that it helps them create some chemistry. But when you go, 70 games in a season, and you play 200 minutes together, and then you click like that against the Celtics in game 1 and 2. I mean, that's on something more than just talent. It does help a little. I'll give you credit for that. I'm not gonna discount that entirely. But as far as the Nets and navigating this whole season, I think Nash has done a great job, and he didn't get any consideration for Coach of the Year, which is not surprising given what his, everybody thinks he's just the players are coaching that team. Look at Steve Nash is probably going to be a very good coach from what I can see. I forgot something I got to go back to. Don't let me forget, Keith. Let me make a note here. So before I wrap up, forgot to mention something during baseball, but I'll go backwards. So anyway, here's where we are. The playoffs are in full swing. Some exciting series going on. Not a lot of surprises. Donovan Mitchell says he'll be playing, even though he's got an injured ankle. He'll be playing through that in Game 4 coming up. I think that's all the notes I have, except to jump into, see if I've missed anything. These guys sure have not even averaged 45 minutes together. Well, I wouldn't think they would. Let's jump into my favorite topic of the day. The NBA awards. How are we doing for time here? Good. We got plenty of time. The NBA awards. Some interesting awards I didn't know about. Let's start with, don't jump on me yet, Carlos. We're going to start with the MVP and Nikolai Jokic. Denver Nuggets. First Nugget to win the MVP. First Serbian to win the MVP. Lowest drafted player ever to win the NBA. NBA MVP. I was a little surprised to hear this stat. Given the years the NBA's been in existence, you would have thought somebody drafted lower than 41st would have won the MVP. I got to give credit. I think I missed something here. Jokic deserves it. European. Well, I don't know if Carlos, don't just give him the credit because he's European. I'll be getting banned from Facebook again. No, he's a great player. Europeans are, he's not the first European to win it either, by the way. Dirk Nowitzki's won it. Gosh, who else? Oh, the Greek Freak has won too. So he's the third European to win the award, and the first Serbian. And he's a great, great player. I've heard guys talk about how he is the worst MVP in NBA history. I've seen this written in articles, and I think that's unfair to Jokic, who is a great, great player. Great player. And I think all credit goes to him. I mean, this guy's game is tremendous. How would a guy like Jokic look playing at center for the Knicks? Not going to happen. I'm just saying, what would that look like? All of a sudden, it's a game changer, right? So, anyway, congratulations to Nikolai Jokic. Now, I will let me go through some other awards. Let me go through all the other awards because I want to get the Coach of the Year last, Carlos, just to make you suffer a little bit. And we'll spend a little time on it. Let me get through the rest of it. Most improved player, Julius Randle. No argument here. Randle was in the... Oh, by the way, back to the MVP real quick. Most surprising thing in the MVP vote to me was that Derrick Rose somehow got a first place vote. Derrick Rose played great, was instrumental in the Knicks' hot finish to the season, and claiming that fourth spot in the playoffs. But I don't know how he gets a first place MVP vote. Yeah. Carlos, oh my God, he is a great player. You don't have to get Tibbs into every. Yes, Derrick Rose did get an MVP vote. It's hard to believe, right? Shocking to me. You didn't get Tibbs into that comment, Carlos. I don't know how you didn't do that. Let's go to the most improved player, Julius Randle. Nobody changed their game and their approach better than Julius Randle. I should have tied this into the Coach of the Year, but and that's one of the reasons Tom Thibodeau's Coach of the Year. Take nothing away from Julius Randle. He did the work, but he knew the work he had to put in. He knew what he was going to be walking into with Coach Tibbs, and he bought into the system. He bought into the culture change and transformed his game. 24, 10, and 6. The 6 assists is one of the things I like the most about Randle and his game. Tremendous, tremendous job. And we'll talk more about that as we get into Tibbs, I'm sure. Put me on this panel. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Rose thing. It's crazy, right? Defensive Player of the Year. Rudy Gobert from Utah gets his third Defensive Player of the Year award, beating out Ben Simmons and Draymond Green. Draymond Green, I'm not a fan of. I think, he's more hype than anything else. I don't know that he's that great a defensive player. But another center getting some great recognition here. Big Ben did very well here. 2 centers and a forward we've talked about so far. A big forward. So great job by Gobert, who unfortunately was probably when we knew COVID was going to be an actual thing was when Gobert, I'm not sure that I'm saying his name correctly, but anyway, when he tested positive last year is when things really started to hit home in the world of sports. And I think for a lot of us in general, losses which during the playoffs, and that's Tibbs' fault. Okay. Everything's Tibbs' fault. Rudy's an excellent pick. I agree. Great pick. Simmons would have been a good pick too, but I think good job by the selectors taking Gobert there. A couple of interesting. The 6th Man Award, which is always one of my favorites, was won by Clarkson from also from Utah, Jordan Clarkson. Very important contributor to that team. Great shooter. And again, every great team has one of these guys. I go back to remembering Vinnie Johnson for the bad boy Detroit Pistons, right? They called him the microwave because he just came in and, man, he could shoot it from all over the floor. He played good defense. And every team needs a guy like this. Derrick Rose is that guy for the Knicks. That's why it was a bad move that he was starting. Well, you know what? I can give you that. Embiid probably did play better defense. That whole team played better defense with Doc Rivers there. So I probably would have voted for Derrick Rose for this selection over Clarkson. But Clarkson certainly, I'm not going to argue the pick. I think it was a great pick. So good job there by the voters, which Carlos is going to be trying to get on the panel. Couple of interesting awards that I barely knew even existed. Well, I know we had a sportsmanship award, goes to Drew Holiday. Congratulations to him. Not enough sportsmanship in sports, as we know. And sometimes I say, I don't care. It depends on what form of sportsmanship we're talking about. You know, I don't care about guys shaking hands if they've had a tough loss and they walk off the court. Big deal. It's not a huge deal. But the way you play the game and the way you deal with your opponents during the game is important. And I think I don't know that much about Drew Holiday's sportsmanship, but I will say that I do not have a better selection for that. Clarkson is a great player. I agree, Carlos. I just felt Rose with his contribution. Of course, I think the fact that he came to the Knicks so late probably hurt him. And then I did not know there was a teammate of the year award. It's named for Jack Twyman and Stokes. If you don't remember, they were players, teammates together, I think with the Cincinnati Royals when Maurice Stokes had a stroke and Twyman was his friend and really helped him and his family through some tough times. So that's why the award is named for them. But Damian Lillard, who now may force his way out of Portland possibly, so I don't know if he's that good a teammate, but he was voted the teammate of the year this year. And listen, I like Damian Lillard. Great, great player. He would be one of the keys to the Knicks really taking things to the next level if somehow he wants his way out. Yeah. I never heard anything bad about Holiday, Carlos, for sure. So I can't argue with that pick. And I don't know, you don't see enough guys to say, for me to say somebody else deserved that award. So let's wait to see what Carlos has got to say about Lillard. He's a great player. Right. I don't know if that makes him a great teammate. I have no idea, how hopefully they poll their teammates and don't just have a vote on this. But again, no issues there. I would like to see Damian Lillard in a Knicks uniform next year. And the Nets do have the capital to pick that up. Knicks do have the capital to pull that off, which we'll get into on another show. Lastly, Coach of the Year. Knicks are bust. I agree. No Wall, no Walker, no Paul. You know what? I agree. I don't like John Wall for the Knicks. I don't like Kemba Walker. Never have. Chris Paul, I think, is staying in Phoenix. Even if he opts out, I think he'll sign a longer term contract there. And I don't see him coming to the Knicks. I think he's found a home in Phoenix. He's always I feel like he's always wanted his team. This is his team. But let's get to your favorite topic, Carlos. The Coach of the Year in the NBA, Tom Thibodeau. Took over a team that had been in a wasteland except for maybe one of the last 20 years. Changed the culture. You can start your comments, Carlos, while I go on my little monologue. Transform guys like Julius Randle. I give Randle credit for making his game better, but he knew what he had to do to get better, and he was told by Coach Thibodeau right away when he was hired what to do over the summer and the things he expected from him. He took a team that had been in the playoffs once, maybe twice in 20 years, a team that was expected to win 20 games. 20 games. If that. I think they won 15 last year. And won 41 games in a shortened season. 10 games over 500. And got the 4th seed in the East. With guys like Alfred Payton playing point guard. And Toppin not meeting expectations. Quickly hitting a wall during the middle of the season. But he helped improve Julius Randle's game. He helped improve Barrett's game, RJ Barrett's game. Barrett played tremendous basketball from a second, like the All-Star break on, until the playoffs. It's one short series. This season is not a disappointment, Knicks fans. Losing to the Hawks in the first round was disappointing. Yes. This season was not a disappointment. It just wasn't. And Tom Thibodeau is a huge, if not the biggest reason for this. Leon Rose made some moves, yes, but the biggest move he made, the most important move he made, was hiring Coach Thibodeau. Let's start looking at some of Carlos's comments. Monty will always be your pick. Forget Tibbs, lousy managerial skills. Disagree 100%. Took the teams in Chicago he had as far as he could. He was a great coach until the players started getting worse. Or the manager, the GM moves got worse. He took a horrendous team in Minnesota to the playoffs. Had some player issues there, but look at some of the guys he's dealing with. You're going to give coaches problems for having trouble with players. You're dealing with a bunch of prima donnas in a lot of cases. They're not all Drew Holidays, Carlos. But the coach is always going to be the problem there. I think Towns in Minnesota is a coach killer. And as far as Monty did a great job. I really didn't think Tibbs was going to win because of Monty Williams in the Phoenix story and or Quinn Snyder, who did a tremendous job in Utah. But I'm glad Coach Tibbs got this victory. And as far as Monty not getting it, and again, I'm not saying this is right, Carl. I think the reason Thibodeau wins in the voters and the writers' eyes is Phoenix is viewed as Chris Paul's team, not Monty Williams' team. And the Knicks are viewed as Tom Thibodeau's team, which probably swung it in his favor. Not saying that's fair. Mike Miller changed the culture. Mike Miller didn't change any culture. If Mike Miller had changed the culture and this team was on going the right direction, he'd be the coach today. Mike Miller didn't change the culture. Throw it under the... You know what? Mike Miller, great assistant coach, not a head coach. Tibbs hurt picks Knox and Frank. They stunk before Thibodeau's got there. Knox has been a bust since the day he got to New York. So has Frankie. Don't blame those on Thibodeau. You tell me how well they performed and show me some numbers. And numbers only say so much anyway. They're no worse or better. And the fact that they're no better, maybe that's a reflection on Thibodeau. But they can't play. They won't be on this team next year, Carlos. He's a good teacher, but well, at least you give him something. He lacks managerial gusto. Not sure what that means. He's the same guy from Chicago and Timberwolves and now the Knicks. I mean, I think you mean now the Knicks. The guy in Chicago was a great coach. Took the team as far as he could with the players that he was given. And that'll happen in New York if this team doesn't keep getting better. You can't blame him for that. You know, what happened in Chicago. They didn't give him it. They took a team that he got to, I think, overperform and played really, really well for a couple of years, but didn't keep making it better. And we're paying guys like Jimmy Butler until they wanted out of town. It's not on Tibbs. He wasn't running the front office. And the Timberwolves been a dumpster fire most of the time. Kevin Garnett was not part of the team. And Towns, I think, is a coach killer. But he still got that team to the playoffs one year. He doesn't understand players today. Runs these guys into the bone. You and I disagree on this forever. Two guys played a lot during the regular season. But again, Carlos, they needed to finish in that fourth or fifth spot. You're going to tell me that if he rested Randall and Barrett more, and by the way, when you say he played him to the bone, again, I showed you a stat that there was 11 guys that average over 20 minutes a game on that team. That's a lot. So don't tell me he doesn't use his bench. He uses his bench a lot. Now, did he overplay Barrett and Randall, who were in the top 5 at least in minutes played? Randall was number 1 for a long time. I don't know if he finished that way, but I know that both of them were in the top 5. Did he ride him too hard? Maybe. But what would be the result if he didn't, Carlos? Do they win 41 games and finish 4th? Or do they win 34 games or 36 games, let's say, put them over 500? Or at 500, and finish 6th. They're going to play the Bucks and lose anyway. Or they finish in the play-in tournament. Would the result of this season been any different if he didn't ride those guys? I say no. Don't have other guys to ride. Every team he coached, he made worse more than 5 years. Well, again, I just gave you some of that reason. They did improve those teams. He coached them up, got them to a certain point. Then they didn't make them better to get over the top. That's what happened in Chicago. Minnesota's Minnesota. I'm not going to ever hold Minnesota against him. Believe me. And if the Knicks don't make moves, like getting a Lillard in here to play point guard and maybe even improving the center position. And they got $60 million in cap space. The onus now is on the management team to get this team over the hump, because 41 wins in 4th place and losing in the first round of playoffs is not an embarrassment. They made a great showing this year of themselves. Time we got. But if they don't, if they finish, with whatever, 41 wins, or if we play a full season, say 45 or 48 wins, and lose in the first round of playoffs next year, well, then they're a failure. Because this team has got to get better. And the fans in New York, and Carlos, you represent them well, I can tell you. You're tough. And I get that. But you know your game, too. And they're smart, and they're not going to accept 41 wins in a first round loss next year. Last 5 games, again, Carlos, they were trying to secure, if you're talking about the regular season or the playoffs, I'm not sure. I guess you need you to qualify that comment before I make a comment. If we're talking about the end of the regular season, you're looking to secure that 4th spot. Only way they had a chance to win a first round series was to be in the 4th or 5th spot. Terrible. You can qualify if you want. Larry fired a coach and got better with the same team. But they hired Nate McMillan. The guy that was coaching was terrible. Terrible. And they're about to go out in 5 games, by the way, to the Sixers. Atlanta played great. Atlanta's got a bunch of great shooters, and they played a lot better defense than I thought they could play against the Knicks. Did Nate McMillan out-coach Coach Thibodeau in that series? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Because they did a great job of taking Randall out of his game. He didn't get to the places on the floor that he liked to get the ball. And he got away. They all got away from doing the things that they should have done, or they had been doing during the regular season. And that's on the coach, yes. But it's on the players, too. The coach can only tell you, do this, do that, fix this, fix that. And if they stop playing, and by the way, if you shoot the ball the way they shot the ball, you're not going to win games. No, Tibbs wasn't that guy for 5 games. That's my point. You judge guys on a very small both. When I'm assuming both means the playoffs again. Their only chance to win, Carlos, was to ride those guys. Who was playing well off the bench at that point? Burks had a great game 1 and then went to sleep. Nobody was playing well off the bench. Except Rose, who we put in the starting lineup, and then he used. I'll give you one thing. If he did one thing wrong in my mind as far as minutes distribution, because guess what? These are young guys. If they can't play freaking 40 minutes a game, then, maybe you ought to be playing baseball. Not to disparage baseball players, of which I was one. What was I going to say? Oh, Rose. He used Rose way too much in the last 2 games of that series, and his game went downhill. Atlanta will not beat the 76ers. Peyton quickly topping needed more minutes in the last 5 games. Peyton, he stuck with Peyton in his starting lineup, and the guy was playing terrible. You couldn't keep playing him the way he was playing. You're looking to secure, again, the best spot you can get and have a chance to win a first-round game. They needed to be in a 4 and 5 spot to either play Atlanta or Boston or whoever did get that spot. So you got to play those games like they're playoff games. And when you get to the playoffs, every team's better players' minutes increase. That's the way the game has been coached for 100 years. I guess everything's 100 years for me. It's not 100 years. What do you got for Drew? Baseball news, breaking up this conversation. I did miss, by the way, Drew, thank you, the Severino injury I meant to mention yesterday. That'll be a little setback for the Yankees. Zach Britton is getting ready to come back. And Mudcat Grant is the guy I made the note that I forgot to mention. So I'm going to come back to Mudcat Grant before I wrap this up. Thank you for that reminder, Drew, because I did want to mention Mudcat Grant. In fact, I've got his stats up here to talk about. So if let me see if I've gotten Carlos off his thing. So thank you, Drew. I did miss that. I did want to bring up Severino. And I went right past it on my notes here. Again, could be a big deal for the Yankees. And Britton coming back will be a big deal. Let's go back to this. I think I wore Carlos out. So we'll get ready to wrap up the show here, guys. And wrapping up the show, I do want to mention the passing of Jim Mudcat Grant. Grant was the first black man to win 20 games in the major leagues. He pitched very credibly with Cleveland and the Twins and the A's. Drew had them all down there. What else did I write down here? Montreal, the Cardinals. His best years were in Cleveland, and Minnesota really was where he made his mark. He won 15 games in Cleveland, 14 games in Cleveland, but then he gets traded to Minnesota. And his second year there, he wins 21 games. He goes 21-7 and actually finished, I think, in 5th or 6th place for the MVP award in the American League that year. And that was 1965. I believe the Twins, if I'm not mistaken, Drew can point this out, I think went to the World Series that year and lost to the Dodgers. I'm not positive. I'm getting that all from memory. So, again, I appreciate Drew bringing up that news. We do want to say rest in peace to Mudcat Grant. And our condolences go to his family. A wonderful, wonderful Major League pitcher. Somebody who helped further the cause of minorities in baseball, because there weren't a lot of black pitchers at that point in time in the major leagues. but he was one of the guys who set the standard and helped them move forward. Major League Baseball is doing better by being inclusive with Negro League history. I agree. It's funny, Carlos. I agree, and I don't know. It just changes a record book so much. And there's a lot of debate. And again, obviously, I didn't see the Negro Leagues play. But Josh Gibson hit something like 800 home runs. You see the new Major League Baseball home run king? And there's a lot of debate. I'll hear a lot of, my first gut reaction would be a lot of great players, but overall you didn't have the quality that you had in the major leagues. But then I will read articles that will say they were just as good as, as a whole as Major League Baseball was. So in any event, I think it's good that there is some inclusion there. It's just a matter of how they actually do it. Yeah. Rest in peace, Mudcat. And good point too, Drew. He was a pitcher who did transition from starter to closer, and there's been a few that have done it. Eckersley and John Smoltz are the two that come to mind as the most successful in my mind, but I'm sure there's others that are slipping our minds now. But two guys that did do very well, and Mudcat Grant was a precursor to them. So great job by him, and again, a very good major league career for Mudcat Grant for sure. And as far as the Negro Leagues and the inclusion, Carlos, I'm all for figuring out a way to include them in the numbers and figure out how to do it in an equitable way. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Henry Aaron played in the Negro Leagues. I mean, maybe he'll go ahead of Barry Bonds, right? So maybe. I'm not sure if he hit that many. I think I remember bringing this up once before. And maybe Drew pointed out that he only hit maybe 8 or 10 home runs in the Negro Leagues. But again, we'll see what happens with that. That is a part of baseball history that needs to be addressed. A lot of great players never got a chance to play in the major leagues, or did so, much later in their career, like Josh Gibson, like Buck O'Neil, like Satchel Paige, who pitched, I guess, when he was 45 years old or something in the majors. And certainly there's a lot of other names that aren't going to come to the top of my brain right now. Actually, that's something that I would love to do, Carlos. Actually, I've been to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, dozens and dozens of times. I love the trip. Hopefully you've been there, Carlos. It's a great, for you, it would be a great ride out of the city, I think, and into some nice, beautiful countryside. And I think you'd enjoy that visit. But I would love to get a chance to visit the Negro Leagues Hall of Fame at some point. When I do some traveling, maybe when I'm retired one day. But it's an important part of baseball history that cannot and should not be forgotten. So I'm glad they're getting some due. Guys, that's going to wrap it up for me today. I appreciate you guys being with me today. We talked about a lot of stuff with Jim Beringer. Thanks for coming on, Jim Beringer. Thanks for getting us up to date on I love their barbecue in Kansas City. Awesome, right? Guys, thanks for being with me. I love the By-Play on Sundays. It's my favorite show. I love the interview show I do with a great guest on Friday. And again, I thank Derek May for this past Friday. Sundays is still my favorite show because I get to interact with you guys, and you do a great job of keeping the show moving along. So I appreciate all of that. And I hope you'll be with me next Sunday and next Friday when my guest is Dan Epstein, with some of the best 1970s baseball books you want to read. Big Hair and Plastic Grass and Spirit of 76. Two great, I think I'm saying Stars and Stripes, sorry. Two great baseball books, and Thurman and Me, he co-wrote with Ron Bloomberg. So we'll have him on Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll see you guys then or Sunday. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk, right here on Northeast Streaming Sports Network. See you later, guys. Have a great day.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, you guys any